Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Have you ever wondered how to move from unconsciousness to awareness? Well, we got a show for you. What's up? Are you conscious?
I'm unconscious.
Unconscious.
Such a good actor. Some days I like to act.
You are a great actor.
Yeah. I don't remember what I was going to say. The microphone's over there.
You gotta speak into it.
Yeah. Unconsciousness. Unconsciousness. We all, well, okay, let me not include everybody in that. There's a lot of people that are very conscious about everything they do. But many of us go through our lives pretty unconscious. We just do our behaviors. We go into auto mode. Do you remember the event you came to when we first met? You came to that live event. Do you remember what the topic was on?
I don't know if I remember the topic, but you talked about the brain a lot.
Yeah, I talked about the DMN, the demon, the default mode network. Do you remember that?
Hello. I remember Amy Bingham.
Hola, Amy. Is that how they say hello in Thailand?
She's not
Bali?
Bali.
Yeah. Yeah. Hola. Hola. No, I talked about the default mode network. And, you know, we think when we go unconscious or we sleep that our brain shuts off. Our brains never shut off. And the default mode network is the network we go into in that unconscious state. It's kind of that automated mode where the brain just takes over and it does things where we're not even aware of it. Mm-hmm. And so the default mode network is always running in the background. And what shuts it off is consciousness. So as soon as we move into consciousness, which is a smaller portion of the energy that's used in the brain, but a very costly portion, then we're able to shift things up, and then we move it back into the default mode network into, hey, there we go. Selamat pagi, good morning. We move it back into that automated mode. So Alfred North Whitehead, he said that it's the number of things that we can do without thinking by which civilization advances. And if you think about that, unconsciousness is really a beneficial thing, because think of how many things you do without thinking. Like yawning.
Yawning, breathing, blinking.
Working, driving your car. You get somewhere, you don't know how you got there. You're having a conversation, you're at the end of the conversation, and you were present for the whole thing. And somehow you grasped on to what was being said, but you don't remember the conversation. But it was there. So that's our default mode network. And it's very beneficial because we're able to automate things, and that's what makes us move forward. And so unconsciousness isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's when you're unconscious in behaviors that are taking you in a direction that doesn't benefit your life that it becomes a negative, right? What are you hearing?
You know, sometimes I think, you know, even when you're made aware of something, a behavior or an attitude, or, you know, I guess that could be a behavior as well, but or a way of being. And like what comes to my mind is like ignorance also comes into play.
So
there's like a choice that then becomes available once you're made aware.
Yeah, it's almost like easier to just jump on the train of unconscious behavior. It's like consciously unconscious. You're ignorant. You ignore what you know for what you automatically do. And I think that's the challenge with drug addiction, is that even though it's harmful, people still do it because the pathways are so easy to go down that pathway. Even though it's harmful and it's damaging and they want to stop, they're still conscious. They're conscious that they want to do that. But then unconsciously it overrides them, and boom, they're right in that cycle. I do that.
Yeah, people call it getting in a rut, right?
Yeah.
And I think of a rut as a path that's been well worn down. because you've done it, you've gone down that path or so many times. It's a deep cut, you know, a deep path.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It can be harder to get out of that cycle without some consciousness, without some effort put into that to change the pathway to something different.
Right. You know, what's interesting is about 2,000 years, actually for the last 2,000 years, maybe a little longer than that, everybody thought that your brain was in your heart. Right? So that you made decisions, that this thing of mush, the Egyptians would just dig it out of your nose during mummification because it was waste material. They had no idea of what was in here because every decision was made from the heart, right? And we're getting back into that space of making decisions from the heart, like the emotional side of it. But there's still a lot of power in here. Your intuition is drawn from what you know. So whatever's stored in that neocortex, your experience, becomes intuition. And there are some things that you don't know how you know it, but you know it because you've had experience around it. It's stored in there. And so when you pull that intuition in, it's drawing from what you have built in as knowledge. And so that knowledge is relative. So intuition can be relative. And so as people are drawing information in, they're pulling from what they know. And so intuition can be faulty because you've plugged in faulty information up here. Does that make sense?
So, you know, I guess that's the importance of, you know, finding mentors or reading good material or listening to good audios, you know, on stuff. Otherwise, yeah, you could stay in that faulty thinking.
Yeah, like I have this gut feeling I shouldn't be doing this, but it's a good thing for them. But they have this gut feeling that says I shouldn't be doing that because their experience says that that's fearful. And so they don't do something that's good for them. People will resist change even when it's good for them because of past experiences. And so you're looking at, these are all those automated behaviors. You're not aware, you're not consciously aware of them. Your brain's pulling a lot of power. 20% of the energy in the body that's used goes to the brain. If you bleed in the brain, I'm reading a book called Into the Magic Shop, and he's a neurosurgeon. He talks about how much blood flow goes into the brain, that if they can't stop even just a capillary from bleeding, the person can bleed out through that small vessel because it's pumping so much energy into the brain. And so it's one of those things that you have all this energy coming in, and most of what we do is at an unconscious level. So we're not aware of it. And so when we bring it to the consciousness and the awareness and we start to work on it, then it can be very taxing because energetically it tends to cost a lot for us to really focus in on that thing. And so it feels effortful. It feels like, man, I don't know if I can do this, right? Until that new behavior becomes unconscious and then it's automated and it's like, oh yeah, I've always done that. Right? Riding a bike. You didn't know how to ride a bike coming out of the womb. I hope not.
It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Put a little clown slap the baby and then put him on a bike.
A little backflip, kick spin, whatever. Yeah.
Check this out. See what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's a learned behavior, but now you ride a bike and you're like, man, I've always known how to ride a bike. Well, the truth is you didn't always know how to ride a bike.
Some of you are still bad at riding a bike, but
it's true. Look over your shoulder.
Do it.
Yeah. What else did I want to bring into that? Because when you look at awareness, right? Awareness is looking at the behaviors that are at play. So when we're all born, we're born into our environments. We don't choose where we're born. And, you know, from the interviews that we've done, we've seen people that have had really hard upbringings, abusive upbringings. We've had people who have had great upbringings, awesome parents. And every one of them has had to go through a journey of figuring out who they are and what they want to create in the world. So the start point doesn't really matter. You have this story, this history of wherever you started. The story that we carry forward is what matters. And so we get into this automatic behavior of, yeah, I was born into an abusive family and my parents were this. And I got into that cycle where I can't change because I was, like in your case, adopted and, you know, all these things. And so we hang on
to trauma, whatever. I mean, you could make your story whatever it is, you know.
And so that story creates a perception of how the world works. And we start to perceive things as this is the way the world works. And then from that perception, we create our beliefs. And the beliefs are the things you hold dear. And so the word belief comes from Glauben. It's German. It means to hold dear. And so when you hold something dear, you could hold something dear that's just a pile of garbage.
Yeah, that's not doing you good. It's doing you harm.
Look at some of the things people collect. Like they have these collections of just hoarders, as an example, right? Hoarders they can't throw things away. And they're literally surrounded by garbage, but they hold on to this stuff, right? Some of our beliefs are like that. We just hold on to them. And then from those beliefs, we make choices. And those choices create outcomes. And then those outcomes create results from which we draw our history, our story. And then we confirm or change our beliefs.
That becomes our reality.
Yeah. And it's insanity, right? We're stuck in the cycle of taking that old story and running that operation all the way through. And then we might learn something new, but then we do the old behaviors. And we're like, I know the new thing, but you're unconsciously doing the old thing. I know what to do now, but your programming, your unconscious side goes back in and pulls up all the old stuff, and you just go right into auto mode, right? It's not a negative thing. It's just your brain is working with you to create what it feels is important for your safety and your thrive.
What are some things that pop out of that rut, like that could be done, that maybe you've seen, or, for me, it's as I was made aware of something, I had a desire I got sick and tired of being sick and tired and, some things. And, but I've been made aware from other mentors, other people, lovingly, sometimes very bluntly, that
that's
didn't feel loving, but it was out of love.
Yeah.
It was just, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, like a baseball bat to the teeth, and so then it was like, okay, well, if I want something different, I need to do something different.
There's the story of the dog on the nail, right? Like what you're describing right here. Like the dog's
great picture, Diana.
Yeah. And the dog's sitting on the nail. He's whimpering. Neighbor comes over and asks the farmer, why isn't the dog getting off the nail? And he goes, well, it doesn't hurt enough yet. So the dog just sits there every morning on the nail and just goes through that cycle. The farmer could kick the dog off the porch. Hopefully you're not abusive to animals.
Yeah, don't kick the dog.
But he couldn't. The dog would come off the nail and it would do something different. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. Kind of a saying that's going around. And so if it's painful and nothing changes, then nothing changes. You continue to tolerate the pain until it's intolerable. And then you make movement there. Somebody pushes you. It's not their responsibility to push you, but somebody pushes you lovingly, gently, and you have an awakening around that.
Yeah, or a circumstance happens.
We've
had people on the show that have lost the ability to walk, or which is a pretty, that could really change things really quickly.
Yeah,
you fall off scaffolding, right, and break your back.
Yeah, you're paralyzed, right?
Yeah, you lose a limb.
Yeah,
and that changes stuff pretty dang quickly.
I think that, and also stepping away. Like I went into nature this weekend and I was stuck in a pretty good rut, feeling really overwhelmed, feeling like exhausted, feeling apathetic. And these are, I do this because this is where it's all coming from. Like in my mind, it feels like that's what's projected out into my world. Go out in nature for a few days, away from technology, away from it all. Share a few pictures here and there, but really I'm just in nature and there's this reset. It's like when you get away from what you think is your life and you go somewhere else for a moment, you start to realize what really matters to you. And then when you come back into your life, you come from a different space. You have almost this blank slate in a way where you can launch from.
I heard like, we've done some things like grounding.
Yeah.
It's a reset. It's a connection. It's a change of what you're doing. I also, when I Yeah, this is good. Best reset is camping, says Jen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. See, absolutely a feeling of grounding.
Yeah.
Um,
There's something about
also,
nature. Yeah.
also going, like when I went to, you asked me about your course. I came to your event, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was this belief, like, well, I could do that.
Hmm.
And I didn't have that part before. I saw something different. I saw a new perspective. I saw something that I hadn't seen before and
Yeah.
became aware of it through, but it was through you, speaking.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay, so my brain's that powerful. Like I could do those things. Like it was this new empowerment
Yeah.
that I hadn't felt before.
When you have an understanding, like what you're talking about, and you're able, so true, my canoe. I love it because it rhymes.
Yeah.
When you understand how your brain works, then you can start to grasp how you can change it, because the brain is plastic, meaning that it can always change. You never stop developing new neurons from the time you're born to the time you die. You're always going to be creating new neurons and new neural pathways. So if you have an old pathway that's really rutted in and you're good at it, the way to create a new pathway is just like riding a bike. You go out there and you pedal and you fall over and you skin your knee and you get back on, you do it again and you keep doing it, you adjust and you keep doing it until you become proficient to the degree that that becomes automated. Now you no longer have to think about it. And you're unconscious in a positive thing.
So it can be slow, it can be clunky at the beginning because you're building that new pathway, right?
Yeah.
But a neuron gets, the more you do it, the more it gets wrapped in a myelin sheath. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Whoa, look at Ryan
Yo,
go.
man.
And so the faster it fires.
Yeah.
And what's the speed of of those firing?
Voy a decirlo en español porque cuando yo estaba en Bolivia, yo no hablé en español ni un poco. So I'm going to do that because I learned to speak Spanish in Bolivia. It took me 6 months to even understand it.
And then it was
slow
at first, and
right?
then
and then
you started to understand Spanish.
And then if I stopped using it, I lost a lot of it. It atrophied, right? So as you stop using things, they atrophy, which is good news because your old behaviors can atrophy as you stop
doing them. Yeah.
So when you're talking about the speed of a neuron, the slowest neuron in your body runs at about 1 mile per hour. The fastest,
that's me waking up in the morning. Yeah, that's a really slow process.
Like on, the sloth in Zootopia. The fastest is 268 miles per hour, which is as fast as a Bugatti Veyron at full speed. I mean, it's fast. I mean, you really want to know when your hand's in the fire, you don't really want to sit and think about it. You want that to just yank your hand right out. And so there are things you're going to do before you're even consciously aware of it. You have 2 gut center or brain centers, one in your gut that has over 100 million neurons. You have more neurons in your gut than a lot of animals do in their entire brain system. And then you have 86 billion neurons up here. And we go around and we say, well, I don't have the brain for that. I want to swear around that. Are you
kidding me? Yeah.
Because you have the same brain I have, the same structure I have. And even if there's some damage in there, there's plasticity that allows you to create a workaround that somebody that loses a limb can learn to train a robotic limb by using their brain waves and creating new pathways to that arm. Like, so to sit there and say, I don't have the brain for it is an absolute lie. It's a belief that you've held on to that is garbage, that you should throw away because it doesn't serve you.
Immediately.
Because the truth is you have the same brain as Einstein. You have the same brain as every other intelligent person out there. You have the same brain as me. The only difference is what you choose to put in based on the belief system that you're holding on to. Because that belief system is deciding your perceptions around the world and your choices that you're taking. So yeah, you have already within you the power to do everything that I can do, that Elon Musk. See, Elon Musk, he's an investor. The guy might be intelligent, but he borrows the intelligence of other people. And Nicole's going to maybe get upset about me saying that. Nicole, like Elon
Same
Musk,
thing that Henry Ford did. Henry Ford did the same thing. He
Henry
said,
Ford.
why am I going to fill up my mind with all this useless stuff when I can turn to anybody at any point in time that
But
has done that and get that information?
the thing is you can be the Henry Ford and the Einstein. You have more capacity in your brain than you would ever need. You can store every book that was ever written, that will ever be written, from the beginning of time to the end, and you'll still have capacity for more. You can watch 3 million hours of video inside of your brain. If we were to put every episode that was ever on Netflix inside of your brain, you'd be able to store that and the entire internet inside of one brain. There's 8 billion of us, and we all have 86 billion roughly neurons in our brains. Like, there's no chance that you're not brilliant. I love this. Borrowed brilliance or personal brilliance. Create it, because it's already in there. Both. So this is where, when you become aware, this is the challenge, is that the awareness doesn't immediately eliminate the old behaviors. You're going to have to extinguish the old and establish the new.
I just started thinking about like we all know the gym, right? You want the instant muscle, the instant change, or the diet, right? That you started, you know, on the 1st of January, and you want that beach body now. And so 3 days in, you don't see a change. You're like, this doesn't work.
This is terrible.
This is terrible. Can't do it. Done. You know, when, throw it out. Goodbye.
I hope I didn't break something. Just
Tater in the background.
Well, he's gagging on his tail.
Yeah. But you know, like for me, I saw a change. I went on keto, and I did for a year straight, and I lost 50 something pounds, almost 60 pounds. You know.
Yeah.
Well, I actually was more than 60 pounds at one point. So I blame some of that on COVID, because I lost some weight during that time too. But like, it was consistent daily effort. It was to a point then where people would say, that's hard. How are you doing that? That's so hard. And I'm like, not hard anymore.
Yeah.
There was a couple of weeks there where, I'd walk to the fridge because of my conscious, you know, or my unconscious behaviors. And I'd have to become conscious of that and stop myself from putting a certain food in my mouth.
Yeah, you would shift the direction. It's not like you could stop a neuron. It's like standing in front of a train. That thing is going to fire. It's going to fire all at once, all in one direction. You stand in front of it, you're going to get slammed, right? So direct it like Aikido, like the martial arts Aikido. They take the energy and they redirect it. And so you'd have this consciousness of this comes up of, wow, I'm going into an unconscious behavior, and you would shift it and move it to another direction.
Yep.
And so it's not like you stopped it, because we have a limit to our ability to resist things. Yeah, that willpower. Holy crap. If you're creating your life around willpower, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle, because we have a limited amount of energy that can be allocated to willpower, as you've seen in the marshmallow experiment. So if you look that up on YouTube, look up the marshmallow experiment with kids, where they gave them a marshmallow. They said, if you can wait, we'll give you 2. And most of the kids couldn't do that. That's pretty common for life. For most of us, we're unwilling to put things off. It's because willpower is really limited, but redirecting and shifting energy and flowing isn't.
I would now when I'm on keto and I'm going through that process, I know what's next. I know what the feelings are that come up. What, you know, if I go off of it for a while or shift my diet just, you know, a little bit, like when we go out for sushi.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes me out of ketosis. And so for 2 or 3 more days after, you know, to get back into it, I'll have some hunger pains. I know that there's, you know, maybe some headaches or something like that. So I know I can feel those feelings start to come on, and I'll have the hunger pains, or I'll crave sugar again.
Yeah.
If I go a couple of days, 2 or 3, 4, 5 days without it, they subside, they disappear.
Yeah.
But you know, it's something where I can shift that faster and faster as I'm aware of those feelings that pop up. I'm like, hey, I know what to do with that. Yeah, it's okay. Go drink more water. Go do
experience,
this.
Right?
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you draw from when you pull from intuition, is that experience. And so when you have that gut feeling and that intuition, you're drawing from what you've plugged in here. And some of it will come from beyond that. Like Einstein had some realizations and revelations that came when he was calm and when he could really slow things down. When you go into your reptilian brain, you're going to go into your automatic survival mode. It's going to be really hard to consciously shift it. And so your goal is to get your body calm so that you can start shifting things. The other thing I would recommend for people is TBO NFL, the video. If you haven't seen that, the personal internal commitment that Steve Hardison talks about in TBO NFL. You can look it up on YouTube. It's a 2-hour video. It's long, but it's worth every minute. And it might be worth a repeat several times. So as you watch that, you'll see a realization is sometimes you need this awakening, right, to how you've been playing life. And that creates inside of you a personal internal commitment that has you show up differently in your life. And so watch that. That would be a separate thing. I mean, we've rambled. We're 26 minutes in here.
Hey, but you know what? It's effective.
So,
I just wanted to mention too that you know, Amy Bingham had mentioned soul or heart space. You know, it's the brain is designed to protect, right? It doesn't make all the right decisions.
Well, it does.
You know, but you know what I mean? Like, because there's some things though that you can go off of dropping 18 inches down and listening to your heart is what, you know, that thing. Sometimes, you know, my brain is like, you're starving. No, I'm not. I'm on keto. And I'm not starving. It's the withdrawals from the sugar and the carbohydrates. I'm not starving at all.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing my body real, you know, a good thing here.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I have to stop and pull back and listen to what's inside of here.
Yeah.
And go with that. So sometimes you don't have to make that decision right away. Sometimes, you know, you sit back and think about it. Think about it from a different space too. Pause. If you're going through these things and you become aware of something, instead of making a quick decision, sit back and find out what's really true. What's really true is I'm not starving to death.
Right.
My body's adjusting and adapting. My brain's screaming, I want sugar. You know, I want those carbohydrates. This is different. This is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. Right? No, we're okay.
Yeah.
And then make those decisions from a different space.
That right there is awareness, right?
Yes.
That is bringing to the awareness, questioning what you hold as true, because truth is relative, and questioning what you hold as a truth, and then seeing if you want to hang on to it or if you want to turn it around, like Byron Katie's work, right?
Yeah.
Is it true? Can I possibly know that it's true? How can I turn this around? Yeah.
You know, and I'll, you know, I know that, and sometimes that's 100% true, is that the brain would, you know, in certain situations, that might be the right thing, but it's okay to step back and just ask yourself, is this going to serve me? Is this the right thing to do?
Right.
In that situation. So
hold on one sec. I was going to grab that video and it just keeps playing automatically. So I don't know if you can see this on here.
There he is right there. Anyway, were your ears burdened, Steve?
Yeah.
We were just talking about you.
That's a little tough. Look up TBOLIT NFL on YouTube. You'll see it there. But I think we're gonna wrap. We're running on 30 minutes here. That's quite long for these episodes. I could go on for hours on this, but talking about your brain is only always trying to serve you. So all the stuff that you think is negative is actually, in your brain's perspective, positive for you. Is looking after you. It's like that parent's like, I just want the best for you. And it's like, dude, you're damaging me. You need to back off. Your brain will do that, but it has your interest in mind. It's not your enemy. And so it's about shifting that perception to look for the things that are going to be beneficial in your life, and using your brain as a tool to really help you do that, because when it becomes automated, that's going to be part of your character and who you be in the world, and who you be becomes what you do, and what you do creates your reality. So you have these new shirts called Be to Do. I like this shift on this. It says be todo. Like in todo, Spanish, todo means whole or everything. Be everything, be anything, be todo, right? But be to do, when you be something, then you start to do things from that space of being, and you're going to create a reality that's different. And just like riding a bike, your being might be very clunky at first until it becomes unclunky. So stay with it. So stay with it. Give it enough time. You have to stick with it. This is from my book, The Art of Accomplishment. You got to be willing to suck at something long enough to get good at it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be willing to suck at something. And then there's going to be a point where you don't suck at it anymore. You're pretty damn good at it.
Yep.
And so,
and guess what, giants? It's in there. You're a giant.
yeah.
And so I love the I am statements, the infinite awareness, because you are.
Yeah. Our declarations become our reality. What we declare to the world becomes our reality. And so that's where we step into conscious creating. And so
Abracadabra.
I'm getting emotional on this. Yeah, guys, go make it a giant day. I mean,
I love you too.
Literally, like, we could do a whole session on just these two topics right here.
Yep.
Like, I could go 3 hours on this and just really like blow your mind as far as what's up here already for all of you. So yeah, go in the right direction here. Any other thoughts?
Just excited of the possibilities.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Giants, let's call it a show. Abracadabra. What you speak becomes your reality. Go make it a giant day. Speak it into existence. Start being that, to do the things that you want to create. Be to do, and that becomes your reality.
Go expect some miracles.
See you in the next episode.
Love you too.